What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Daily Refinement. My name is Chris. I make a full-time living selling stuff online on websites like eBay, Amazon, Mercari, Poshmark, and I want to share with you today the 2019 eBay Seller Spring Update and my take on it and what I think you guys should do to adjust your business accordingly. The first thing is that they've made some reconciliations with the sales tax for state collection. That's not really something we need to worry about, but there's been some improvements there. They've also adjusted the Seller Hub to allow you to download reports and adjust listings easier in the Seller Hub. That's great. They've also gotten rid of fixed price listing durations that are not good till canceled. And I think that's important for people who sell one-off items, which, by the way, is the minority of people on eBay. Most of eBay is replenishable brand new items. And those people generally use good till canceled already, so it's not going to affect their business too much. That's more than 80% of the listings on eBay. So it sort of forces you to take a deeper look at your listings that are not sold and continuously charging you each month because they want to make money on the final value fee. I'm not in the camp of people that think that eBay is just making money on insertion fees. That's kind of like a tax for people who don't know how to sell, sure, but that's not where the majority of their money comes from. They want people to sell their items, and so they're double dipping. They make money from people who never sell their items, and they make money from people, the majority of their money, from people who actually sell stuff. So make sure if you have aging inventory to go in there and change it, because it's going to continuously charge you now if it doesn't sell. Next is the Terapeak integration, and that's going to help people understand pricing. You may have noticed that in your listing, it may say you were the lowest priced on eBay, or it may give you some averages or some trends to watch out for. I think that's really important. I've been a fan of Terapeak for a long time. I like to learn keywords, I like to learn pricing, I like to learn how big the market is. This is where I was talking about, like, each month searches for, let's say, for example, pants. It's like 20,000 searches for a certain kind of pants versus Nintendo has millions of searches each month. So if you sell in a category with millions of searches, it's easier to have a higher sell-through rate generally because there's more traffic, but there's also more competition. The one thing that has high competition and low market is generally clothes, especially tops. You can get an item that sells retail for $90 and not be able to get $20 for it because there's so many people selling that exact same item at a ridiculous discount. So you're competing with a lot of people for low margin. That's where you want to stay away from. In fact, what you're looking for is a high search but low traffic. A high search but low inventory category. Like, for example, a mantle clock. I learned this from Holly. Shout out to Thrift Love G. We were thrifting and she found a mantle clock, and I think 80 of them sell per month, and there's only 100 of them for sale. So that's a great market because it's really high in demand, but there's not very many people selling it. So that's what you want to look for and use Terapeak for, in my opinion, if you're selling one-off items like that. If you're selling replenishable items, you want to sell in categories that sell a ton of a certain thing. Like, for example, let's say you're selling watch batteries for a specific watch that's a #1 seller on Amazon. You're probably going to do quite well if you can get the right supplier. So definitely use Terapeak for pricing. eBay bought Terapeak. I think they're moving them from Canada to San Jose, which is huge. That means it'll be able to give us sellers more information on how to actually sell things. So this is my take on eBay's future and why Devin is still the CEO and how I think you should navigate these changes. More or less, eBay is the same. If Devin was brought in as a CEO to make marketplace changes, he would be fired because the marketplace is essentially the same. It hasn't been that much different. It's still not easy to understand promoted listings. You're still guessing. There's a trending rate, which is very scary. That's like an adjustable rate for your house. You don't know what it's going to go up to. You're constantly trying to adjust and look for better rates or different strategies. That's very annoying. I think it's really good for consumer sellers. If you are selling one Bose stereo system and you want to rank really high and get rid of it, do 20% promoted listings, sure. But as a business seller, that's directly coming out of your margins, and it's difficult. In fact, not only do we have to spend a lot of time figuring out if that works or not, we have to give up our margins. So it's like pay more for the same visibility as just pricing your item right with a good title. In some cases, that's no longer enough. You can't just have the best item at the best price, which is where Amazon is focused on, making it really, really easy for customers to find what they're looking for. I think that it's exactly the same for an eBay buyer to find something on eBay. It hasn't changed hasn't gotten better. They've made some expensive changes that make it look different, but as far as usability for finding the item, it seems the same to me. In fact, when you see the highest ranked items, they use titles like Raid Unmug. Awesome, right? And awesome obviously doesn't rank. They're just using the Raid Unmug, which Google likes. Short title, concise, relevant, good click-through rate. That's really good, but that's not what eBay promotes. In fact, they let you use 80 characters in the title, which is confusing. Why allow you to use 80 if really it converts better at a shorter title? That's a little bit fuzzy to me. But what I will say is that eBay is more profitable than it ever has been. And I think that's why Devin is still the CEO. But the other executives are now gone. Elliott, the big hedge fund, wrote a letter saying, hey, we want you guys to change 5 different things, get rid of StubHub, focus on marketplace improvement. And if they want to focus on marketplace improvement, in my opinion, Scott Cutler and Bob Coupens, those guys are great executives, but not for marketplace improvement. Marketplace improvement is making it easier to buy and sell on the platform, and I didn't really feel that as a seller. And eBay didn't announce this, and these are 2 ridiculously huge executives. In fact, Bob is in charge of the whole seller side, and there's been no eBay release of him departing, no release of bringing in somebody that's more aimed at the marketplace improving. And of course, it's there's so many variables involved with it, but like there's some simple changes I feel like they could make to make it easier to buy and sell, and just get rid of all of this guessing that sellers are doing every single week, trying to figure out what's going on. So I'm gonna step out there and just say, if I was CEO, this is the change that I would make. I would just make it 15% flat across for fees. They want to move to the new payment processor, great. Don't even talk about the new payment processor. Just do it. Don't talk about it. Have a 15% flat fee. And then nobody, all your millions of sellers don't have to waste 10 hours a week trying to figure out how the algorithm works for pricing, and horrible eye-bleeding sessions trying to figure out what your eBay bill is, when you could just simply do how much revenue minus 15% and be done. The amount eBay charges would go up. The overall revenue that eBay makes would go up. The stock market would go up. And then sellers like myself, I would rather just deal with the flat fee. I would just figure it out. And it gives a level playing field to everybody. And there's none of this weird reconciliation that's impossible. If you do a lot of volume, you can't do line by line accounting. But you can on every other website. Every other website you can figure out. Actually, that's not true. On Amazon, you can. Amazon is difficult also. But for sites that just have a flat fee, if eBay is going to move towards more being consumer to consumer based, which is what it seems like it is, why not make it easier for consumers? If I was trying to market eBay for new sellers, I wouldn't say, hey, you know what? We have 5 different kinds of return policies that you need to learn about, 30 different ways you need to ship, and your eBay bill, there's no way that you could understand it without some professional help. That is not a good way to present how to sell on eBay. You have no idea what you net per item. That's very, very odd to me that they haven't changed that. And that bugs me. Hopefully the next person that comes in from Marketplace is like, okay, let's make it easy for sellers and buyers to understand how this works. That would be great. I think the best new sellers are buyers, right? And that's where you see, like, obviously Poshmark is a drop in the bucket, like, and that's the attitude when you go to eBay and you talk about how different platforms are doing things. They just blanket statements say they're small, so we don't care. They're not really like, oh, actually, let me take a step back and say they just introduced the offer to liker feature. And I think that's more widespread now. So the people who watch your item, you can now send them an offer. That's an improvement, but again, it's more C2C based. If you are a business seller with a lot of items, it's hard to individually do that. And again, that's money straight out of your pocket you're giving to them when you're giving up the margin by giving somebody a better deal, right? It should just sell if you have the best price at the best product. So right now where I see eBay moving is they are moving towards making it a better marketplace. Otherwise, why would these 2 executives be gone? They are more, in my opinion, numbers guys. They're just figuring out overall how to make eBay more profit. That's great. But I think that they should focus on making the marketplace better. They still have the most traffic for used items, and they're just riding that train because they already are established. They haven't really made the website better. That's just my opinion. And I'm not saying that they don't spend billions of dollars making these finer tuned things that I can't see on the inside, sure. But As far as a buyer goes, I'm confused because the way that the title is written, the way the item specifics are somewhat redundant, right? So you have just a lot of duplication and a lot of errors. And then also the product catalog, there is a different product for every single condition of the item on eBay. And I think originally Devin had said something like, we're gonna have multiple buy boxes, so like multiple different conditions of something. That's hard to actually execute, right? I don't know how you would do that to make it easy for the buyer to understand that there's multiple variations of the same exact thing. And then they have sell one like this, but they don't have sell this exact thing as a seller. So, you know, when you're trying to sell an item that's already sold on eBay, right? You actually go in and you have to re-enter the UPC code when you're entering in a brand new item, which is very frustrating because you should just be able to say, I'm selling this exact item, and it pre-populates everything except for the price. They're not quite there yet, and I think that's where they're trying to go. Hopefully they get there soon. But again, I just feel like there's so many people on eBay that would just benefit from a flat fee structure and a flat way of doing things. So we don't have to spend 10 hours a week trying to figure out the system. We could spend those 10 hours looking for better products, pricing a little bit better, maybe if we have the ability to do higher volume. So that's just my take, guys. The seller update is not that big of a deal in my opinion. Hopefully you guys can make some minor tweaks, especially if you are not used to good till canceled. My recommendation is to set a specific time every month or every week where you go in and adjust listings. Don't let them get stale because they're going to continuously cost you money. And last thought on that, I've moved out of my house now, so as far as the storage goes, I need my items to sell in 5 months or less. I'm hoping that each item in my storage costs me 10 cents a month or less to store. So it's 50 cents I'm tacking on to my bottom line. That is going to be the cost of storage. So if it's longer than 5 months, it's charging me 10 cents every single month just to store. And it's also charging me 10 cents per month for the listing fee, between 3 and 10 cents depending on what your store is on eBay. So hopefully that's useful, guys. If you like it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know how I can make my channel better. Take care, guys.